folks. Today we're going to talk about Rick Martin. He's down in Texas. He's one of these Sov Cit gurus, or, well, they're not sovereign citizens anymore. They're American nationals. But anyway, whatever they want to call themselves these days, these people that have no clue, and they prey on gullible people, trying to sell them something, they're snake oil remedies for freedom. You just follow these instructions and you will be free. And no cop can touch you. You can drive drunk all you want. You don't have to obey traffic laws because you're traveling. The whole bullshit that's based just in stuff they make up and their lack of understanding of the law. This guy claims to be a lawyer. And not only that, a constitutional lawyer, which is an insult to all real constitutional lawyers, because I happen to know one that up in Maryland that's an actual scholar and constitutional lawyer, and he doesn't pull this crap on people. So let's listen to Rick Martin, and I'll show you how he's going to try to get you in more trouble than it's worth.
This is my traffic book right here. And if you read down below, public note, public servant officer, it pretty much says to him, when a cop pulls me over, you're losing potato chips. But when a cop pulls me over, the first thing I do is I ask him, what's your emergency and how may I assist you? And he's going to ask for my driver's license and insurance or whatever. And I said, well, before we go there, I need you to fill this out. And I take that sheet of paper out of there and hand it to him. Before we can go any further, you need to fill this out. Once he reads this, it already puts him on notice that I'm not playing games with him.
Now, let me tell you, for one, a cop is not going to grab that paper for you and fill it out. He doesn't have time to play games. This guy's setting you up to play games with the cop to escalate the situation that you're already in. You're getting pulled over for some kind of infraction, more likely. And now he's trying to set you up to get into even more trouble. And he's going to lie to you as well.
And then you open up the book. And that is so pointy. And here's the case I won against Harris County. Harris County, I always take my name out because I'm not going to give my name until you can give me what's called, and police always call it, it's RAS. What's your RAS? And they automatically assume I'm a cop because I'm using their lingo. And what RAS stands for, reasonable articulable suspicion that I've committed a crime.
Well, at that point, they're going to have reasonable suspicion that you're an idiot.
Okay, you don't have that? Okay, what's your SAF? Single articulable fact. Well, you don't have that either? Okay, you've just basically said that there's no reason to pull me over because you haven't seen a crime.
Well, for one, a cop's not going to pull you over unless they see you commit a crime, or a traffic infraction. So they're not going. They don't just randomly. There's a blue car. Let's pull that blue car over. That's not how they work. So if they pulled you over, they've already caught you doing something, or suspect you're doing something. So all your little lingo's not going to help you in that situation.
Okay, here's the case I won against Harris County. You can see the stamps and date, and they ended up buying me a brand new Porsche 911 Turbo all-wheel drive convertible.
Yeah, and if anybody believes them on that one, I got some swampland to sell you. See, a lot of these sovereign citizens or American nationals are so gullible, and this guy knows it, and he's just playing that.
With them pulling me over and letting me spend a night in jail. So here's the lawsuit, and I've got these for everybody to see, and you can see that it's all put together. And there it is, signed by the DA and stamped, showing they lost the case.
Well, I guarantee you, if he lost some case, it wasn't because he refused to show his idea and he was driving his own conveyance and all that stuff. There's probably some technicality or something unrelated, and they didn't give him the price amount that he claims he got. Probably got nothing because, well, I'll explain later.
And they lost it and they paid
And
you
I sued them.
And what did you win?
$250,000 for a night in jail.
I call bullshit on that one. $250,000 for a night in jail. Hell, I'd go to jail every day if they could have paid that much. No, actually, they can hold you for 48 hours on suspicion of anything. So, the whole premise of his little argument, one night in jail, they're not going to pay you shit for that. Sorry about your luck.
And then Supreme Court says no license necessary to drive an automobile on public highways. Now these are all documented. So what this is called stare decisis.
The Supreme Court did not say that.
Okay? We're running a case that's already been won in the Supreme Court. And they're in violation of their oath of office when they don't pay attention. My license plate doesn't give you, if you look at my license plate, The license plate alone says I'm not in commerce. Now, if I have a license plate like this car over here and that car over there, they all have license plates.
Yeah, I've seen those plates for sale at truck stops. That's not a properly displayed license plate. In every state in the United States, you have to properly display your license plate. They might see something as they're going down the road, and that's why you can get away with it for a while, but eventually it's going to catch up with you. And anybody who follows this advice and has plates like that, if you want plates like that, that's fine. If you don't mind paying to get your car out of impound every time you get seen by a cop, follow this guy's advice and see where it gets you.
License plates mean I'm engaged in commerce. I'm not engaged in commerce. This doesn't give them the authority to pull me over because they see that.
Oh, yes, it does. Failure to display tags. You have to have tags on your car, regardless if you like it or not, in order to drive on the public roads, the taxpayers' roads.
Where do you see that I'm engaged in commerce? What gave you that suspicion that I'm engaged in commerce? You have the right to travel freely unencumbered.
They always like to use this not engaged in commerce. Well, I'm telling you, that's just bullshit. Because you don't have to be in commerce in order to display tags. You have to display tags in order to drive on public roads. If you have your own property, you can build your own roads and you can drive on them all you want. But if you're going to drive on state, federal, county roads, you're going to have tags because that is the law, regardless if you like the law or not. And this all have a right to travel unencumbered. Yeah, you can travel, but you have to, you can't drive, but you can travel. That doesn't mean you say you're traveling. Or you can ride in a car with somebody. You can get on a bus or a plane or a train or walk. You have the right to travel unencumbered, but you don't have the right to drive a vehicle unencumbered.
And that's all in the law. And we look at the law books. Supreme Court has already ruled on this. And you go back to what is a license. And I want people to do their own homework. Go read the case of Murdoch versus Pennsylvania. Or read the case of...
They love to cherry pick case law and take things out of... They'll cherry pick a particular case law as well. Take a paragraph out of context and claim it. But when the case laws are against what they're trying to do, then they ignore it because they're not a citizen of the country. They're American nationals. They don't have to abide by those laws. So they really, it's about cherry picking what laws you want to apply to, twist the laws to apply to what you want.
What is it? Shuttlesworth versus the city of Birmingham, Alabama. These are showing that you don't need a license. A license is to do something that is immoral.
Now, that is the biggest crock of shit ever. To have a license, you have to do something immoral. Well, I have a CDL, and with multiple, endorsements on it. So that makes me, I must be the biggest pervert out there. I do immoral stuff, I have a license to do things. That makes me immoral. What an idiot.
That's sanctioned by the government. Like a 007, license to kill, okay? That's immoral. They need to be licensed by the state. In other words, they're protected by the state on that.
But earlier, he said you needed a license to do commerce. That if you're not doing commerce, you don't need a license. And now he's saying it's immoral. So any business owner, you're committing immorality. Doctors, they need a license or practice. They're immoral. Doesn't a lawyer need a license? This guy claims to be a lawyer. Is he immoral as well? But I can pretty much guarantee you he doesn't have a license to practice law. None of these charlatans do.
There's nothing immoral about leaving my house to go get a gallon of milk. I only need a license if I'm using the public property. The roadways are public. And they're paid for by the gas tax, okay? They're not paid for by traffic violation.
And they're also paid when you pay your car registration. That's pay taxes. But to be honest with you, these sovereign citizens, American nationals, do anything they can to not pay taxes. If you go to their websites, they also show you ways to cheat on taxes and how to not pay taxes. And just like the sovereign citizen stuff, they don't want you to pay taxes either. So, the only taxes they ever pay is probably sales tax when they buy something, because they haven't figured out a way to get away with that yet.
So when you get into the law, this is what scares most cops. And I'm going to get to it here if the wind would stop for 1 second. This is what most cops don't like. because they don't know it. It's non-emergency use of emergency vehicle lights and sirens is a felony.
It is not a felony for them to use their lights. They use their lights a lot of times. Sometimes they, out here in the South, they use them when there's construction on the road, and they'll set up a cop. Might even not even be a cop in it, but the car's got its light shining so people can see and slow down and protect those workers there on the side of the road. I was a tow truck driver. We had lights, and we didn't have sirens, but we had lights on our trucks. Emergency lights, if you'd call them. They were amber in color. Every state has different rules, but we would use those lights. Some guys were just going down the road, forget the lights are on, just going down the road with their tow truck with the lights flashing up above. But it's not a felony. He's doesn't even know the law.
Pulling me over for a traffic violation, they just committed a felony. And if they don't have reasonable suspicion that I'm engaged in commerce, they're done. And I'll bring out...
Man, you're piling the bullshit up pretty high on this one. They're committing a felony if they pull you over and it's not an emergency, and they're done. When has the cops ever been done? I've seen plenty of Sov Cit videos out there, right to travel videos, and the cop's never the one who's done. It's the idiots that are believing your bullshit that are done.
My brother's, I'm going to put this away real quick. I'm going to bring State Trooper. This was his book that he had in his car, okay? Texas Criminal and Traffic Law Manual. I went to his car and I made him read this, and you're going to love this. This is out of their own law books. This is the LexisNexis. And it says, under section 502.003, registration by political subdivision prohibited.
Now let me explain to you. A political subdivision could be a city. It could be part of a county. A subdivision, you know what subdivisions are, Political subdivisions are where the state divides up from counties, and they divide up into different areas. It's not a state. It's not even a county. A state is a state that's the actual name of what it is. If you go to Europe, the countries are called states. But in the United States, they're United States. They're each individual states. They're not political subdivisions. So he has no clue to what he's talking about. He's claiming a political subdivision can't do all this, but he forgets the fact that a state is not a political subdivision. So let's hear what else he has to say.
Except as provided by subsection B, a political subdivision of this state may not require an owner of a motor vehicle to register the vehicle, pay a motor vehicle registration fee, or pay occupational tax or license fee in the connection with the motor vehicle. This section...
Yeah, he said a political... You see, he even read it properly, but he doesn't even know what it says. A political subdivision of a state cannot do these things. This doesn't say the state cannot do these things. The state requires you to have a license plates. The state requires you to have a driver's license. The state requires you to register your car. The state requires you to have insurance. So all of what you're saying is you're just wasting your breath because you don't even know what you're reading, and you call yourself a lawyer.
Does not affect the authority of a municipality to, right here, license and regulate the use of a motor vehicle for compensation. So if I'm not engaged in compensation, being paid to go from point A to point B, I don't need a driver's license, I don't need to register my automobile. And it is an automobile.
Massachusetts.
But, numbnuts, it doesn't say that. It says it's applying that to a political subdivision and not the state or the county. So you still are required to have those things, regardless of how you twist some law out in your brother's so-called police book.
All traffic codes are pretty similar because they're all federal. They're pretty much the same.
Is that copy in Massachusetts?
Yeah. You can find it, and I would tell you, go to like Amazon or eBay and buy a used one. My brother had to pay $300 for this book.
Well, then your brother got ripped off, because even all truck drivers, commercial drivers, are required to buy the book that has all the DOT, United States Federal DOT regulations in it. So, I never paid that much for it. Paid less than $100 for the book, and the bigger print was still less than $100. You have the big print book. But yeah, even truck drivers are required to have those books. They have the federal DOT. They even have laws that don't apply to truck drivers, and we just have to have them all on us so the cops can say, have you read this? We're supposed to have read to the DOT book, and I never have because it's quite a bit of reading for me, but you know what I'm saying. This guy's full of crap over and over again.
Okay? And then you look at it here. Imposed a permit fee or street rental charge for the operation of each motor vehicle, okay, used to transport passengers for compensation. So who needs a driver's license? A taxi driver? Anybody that's engaged in making money using the public property. I don't go anywhere without this.
Anyone who uses public roads, highways, interstates have to have a driver's license, have to have registration and insurance, regardless of what some numbnut guy that claims to be a lawyer tells you, because I doubt very much this guy's a lawyer, ever passed the bar exam. He's just some self-proclaimed lawyer. But Rick Martin will only get you guys in more trouble. Now, you don't have insurance. That means you don't care about the public around you, because insurance is supposed to protect those around you in case you get into a wreck. Rick Martin doesn't know that. Rick Martin thinks you could drive drunk, and if you've had your license suspended because you're terrible driving, you still should be able to drive. He has no problem with you committing any kind of infraction of the law, because he thinks if you're not in commerce, you can drive drunk and avoid all traffic laws all you want, and you don't need to do anything because you're unencumbered. Well, unencumbered does not include being behind the steering wheel. Sorry about your luck, Ricky Martin.